We'll go ahead and get the Monroe County Board meeting started for the August meeting. At this time, 8:11-1, moment of silence and pledge. I want to ask Mr. Upton if he would lead us in that, please.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
(811-2) Declaration of Conflict for TCA 49-2-202. Board of Education members who have relatives for statute. Relative means spouse, parent, parent-in-law, child, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, or any person who resides in the same household as you, employed by the system, are asked to raise your hand to identify yourself. Do you certify that the votes you make tonight will be in the best interest of the school system, regardless of the effect your vote may have upon the employment of your relative or relatives?
I do.
I do. 811-3, approval of the consent and regular agenda. We need to amend the agenda to add the approval of the disciplinary hearing authority. I'd like to add that to the end of the new business. So I need a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, so there's two different. Okay. And there's also to accept the approval of the mental health behavior grant as well. I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Fred, didn't you say second?
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Now we need a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 811-4, approval of August budget amendments. I need a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is there any big ones, 50,000 up?
There's one, if you remember, towards the end of the last fiscal year, the auditors made me move Dr. Windsor's salary from one place to another. We already had this fiscal year's budget made, so I'm amending this fiscal year's budget to move her salary for this fiscal year.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes of the July 14th, 2022 regular board meeting and the July 27th, 2022 special call meeting. Do I have a motion to accept? Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 8-11-6, approval of Memorandum of Understanding between Volunteer Behavioral Health and Monroe County Schools. No changes from the previous year. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. 8-11-7, approval of the Memorandum of Understanding for the Youth Service Officers, 7/1/22 through 6/30/26. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Okay. Mr. Chairman or Madam Director, I read over a lot of this. Can you explain to us sort of, the judge is going to be their boss, right?
Correct.
They do the hiring,
Yes.
they do the firing. Can you lay out to us where some people don't know maybe what they're going to do?
So basically, they will serve as a liaison between the juvenile court system and the school system. So students that may be at risk for behaviors or truancy, attendance problems, that type of thing, they will be able to work with those students to develop a relationship and hopefully keep them from getting into the court system and having a record.
So what have we been doing with the students up till now?
We follow the normal truancy procedures. There are phone calls made home, meetings with parents, but after so many, it automatically went to juvenile court. So, for instance, we'll involve them in the process between court and what we've been doing to work with those students, to make contact with parents, visit the homes if necessary, find out if it's a case of a student with a hardship as far as getting to school, and try to bridge that gap with whatever the student may be dealing with at home, preventing them from coming to school, or prevent them from the behaviors they have. If they're a behavior problem and we can identify what might be going on at home or in their personal life, those individuals will help try to, again, bridge that gap.
Excuse me, Chief, they're going to work in our schools,
Correct.
but they're not required to help give us the information they have. It goes straight to the judge. We're eliminated from that process, but they're in our schools, so we have no say-so over what they do in our schools.
Well, the Memorandum of Understanding basically outlines what they do. We've made it clear. Mr. McCarty tried to make it as clear as possible, and the judge was happy with what he did, and he gave feedback as well on the separation of responsibilities. We're not asking them to serve as counselors or any type of guidance staff. We're not asking them to serve as officers. SROs will still do what they do as far as law enforcement's involved. Counselors and guidance will do what they do as far as their role. Teachers will do what they do. Everyone, it's just, they have distinct responsibilities. So they will be doing things in their schools, but it will be within the guidelines that we've set before them. And there's certain information they'll be privy to that we can share, and then there's certain information we can't. And the same is said of them. There are things that the court can know that we may not, but all of that's been laid out. And there's an understanding based on that MOU, which we've signed.
So if they know something that is could be detrimental to our school, they're not required to share that with us.
Not necessarily, depending on what that information might be and the age of that student and what it entails as far as with law enforcement. And that's not any different than before they came into our schools. They still had that information and weren't able to give it to us. It's just that now they may have information that they know and they can intervene on their own without us being involved. So there would be more opportunity for them to intervene even though we still can't have the information.
You can't put a monetary value on this, because all the cost comes from the court, right?
Correct.
No cost to the school system.
None. And the
SROs
intent,
will still be trying to prevent any big
Correct.
deals that are going to happen. This is just going to be a deal that tries to keep them from becoming a regular in the court, right?
absolutely, yes. Prevent them hopefully from even entering the court system. That's the goal. And the judge's hope would be to extend the program, make it bigger across the county if it's successful and it's something that he is able to work into his budget later. But at this time, we've started with the 4 YSOs.
This memorandum goes to 26,
Correct.
and he's paying for it from a federal grant. Is that correct?
I know that he had it added into his budget. I'm not sure what portion of it, if any, is grant money. But he did have it added into and approved as part of his budget.
So at the end of this 26, it's not something we're going to be required to pick up.
No, at the end of 26, we'll renegotiate anything that needs to be, the contract and anything that we may have to add to that or him at that time, if we continue the service.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And if we see a problem in this 4 years, there's a procedure you can go through that we can get out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, as far as getting out of it, we're not obligated in the same way we would be as if we employ someone. But it's laid out in a way that we will have constant communication back and forth with anything that we need to alter based on what we need and what we can and can't do, and what he needs and what he can and can't do.
Dr. Windsor, I assume that there are other school systems that have a similar program. How's that working for them?
The closest one that I know of that has a similar program to the extent that we have is in Johnson City. And I heard a gentleman speak on that, and it's been wildly successful there. And they've expanded it to the point that they have YSOs in every one of their schools. And they've seen a great improvement in attendance, behaviors, suspensions and expulsions, court cases. They speak very highly of what they've been able to do there, and they've done it for many years.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Got a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Approval of the 2022-2023 disciplinary hearing authority as attached in the packet provided. Is there anybody needing to talk here? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept this approval?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Approval to accept the mental health behavioral grant from the School-Based Healthcare Solutions Network, Incorporated, once the grant agreement is approved by the board's attorney.
And he did approve it late this afternoon.
And she said that Mr. McCarty did approve it this afternoon. So, do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. 8-11-8, approval of the following policies on the second reading as recommended by the Policy Committee. Do I have a motion to approve these recommendations? All right, got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. 8-11-9, train energy presentation. We have some-
Good evening. I'm Nancy McBee with Train. I also have Owen Nevada with Train back here with me. The last time we were in front of the board was almost 2 years ago in October of 2020 and there's some new faces around the table, but at that time you all authorized us to proceed with an audit of your schools to come back to evaluate and see what we could put together from an infrastructure perspective that would pay for itself with the utility savings it could create. Now, I put together a little packet because Philip advised me we wouldn't have the ability to put anything up on a screen. There's a cover letter that summarizes where we are in the process and what the results of the audit were. After that, there's a one-page. I tried to capture all of this on this pretty little red and blue page. And if you want to go to that, this pretty much gives a high-level view of what the overall results of our audit were. If you're looking for a purely self-funding energy project, there's a project here that exists that will produce roughly $164,000 a year in utility savings, and that would allow you to fund about $2.3 million worth of upgrades in a budget-neutral environment. So this one page summarizes everything that I'm getting ready to sort of go through and maybe hit the highlights. If you go to the next page, this is the beginning of the presentation that I was going to have up on the screen, but we want to thank you all for allowing us to do this audit, and thank Philip Carroll, who spent a lot of time with our engineers and project developers going through the schools, doing energy modeling, et cetera, to bring results back to you. And on here I state that You all are no different than every school system in the state of Tennessee and frankly in the country, in that school systems are typically not super energy efficient. And it's because there's not enough money to spend to make you super energy efficient. There's competing priorities, education. On the next slide, which is page 2, tight budgets, limited capital funds, those are all the things that you know. But smart customers and smart school systems look for creative ways to address these issues. And that is what we came to look at, performance contracting. Performance contracting is not something that Train created. There's a definition here on page 4 from the Department of Energy. Train has been in this business, energy-saving performance contracting, for about 26 years. And there's a lot of companies that do this, but Train is actually leading manufacturer in the world of the biggest energy users in your schools, and that's why we are in this business. In the state of Tennessee, there's legislation that allows us to do these projects under professional services, where you're not required to do an RFP or an RFQ. You can evaluate based on your own judgment who you want to partner with. And 2 years ago almost is when you chose us to do what we've done. How it works, it doesn't replace your operating budget, it doesn't replace your capital budget. It provides a third revenue stream to allow you to make upgrades. Basically, you're taking overspend in your utility budget and putting it into your schools. So I'll probably skip through the next couple slides. If you could look at, I believe it's slide 9, it's this one. So if you look at this graph, basically what it shows is that you'll be reallocating excess utility dollars into this project for a specified period of time. And after the project is paid for, everything beyond there is positive cash flow back to the school system. In Tennessee, underneath the Department of Education, they have a group called the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative. And it is a group that does funding for projects just like this. And so the cash flow models that we've put it together based on funding from the Department of Education's Energy Efficient Schools Initiative. The goals of the program are to reduce your utility expenses, obviously, but also to upgrade the learning environment. In many cases, we're able to replace heating and air conditioning, which improves the learning environment. Replacing lighting with LED lights upgrades the learning environment. And the goal is for us to do this project and guarantee that the results are going to occur. This little chart shows where we are in the process. We did a feasibility study before we did this audit. The audit we've completed is an ASHRAE Level 2 audit. And after the ASHRAE Level 2 audit, we would request to move to an investment grade audit, which is necessary to finalize all contract costs, finalize savings, and put forth contract documents for you. On the next page is a little timeline. Basically, it was back in October of 2019 when we did a feasibility analysis. The following August, in 2020, we were approved by the Monroe County Commission and the school board to proceed with the ASHRAE Level 2 audit. In between there, we've actually worked with Janie Evans in the CTE department on one of the Governor's Give grants for you guys to start an HVAC program for kids who want to become HVAC service technicians. We finished our ASHRAE Level 2 audit, let's see, in May of 2021. And at that time, I think you all were in the middle of all the ESSER funds and what upgrades are going to get made. And so basically, our audit has sat and waited until now. I think all the ESSER funds have been divvied out to the assigned projects. I know you've updated a couple schools with HVAC equipment. You've done some LED lighting upgrades in addition to other things with your funds. But so now we feel like the slate is sort of clear to go on and look at this. So we're here to present the results to you guys. In a nutshell, if you go to the ASHRAE Level 2 audit results, we identified over $23 million worth of things that need to be addressed, from heating and air conditioning replacements, building automation system upgrades that could be implemented, water and wastewater, roofs, windows, again, $23 million worth of need. If you did all of those things, it would reduce your utility budget by, I believe it's like over $300,000 a year. But if you're just wanting to look at what would pay for itself, there's a project that will pay for itself, and it will produce $164,000 a year. From what we discovered, this is a snapshot. This pie chart represents everything that we identified, and you'll see that the largest thing across the school district is mechanical HVAC needs and controls, weatherization, et cetera, on there. So what will self-fund? The next pie chart is this one with the large yellow on it. This is an overview of what will pay for itself. And it's roughly a $2.3 million project that includes LED lighting, some weatherization, building envelope upgrades, some water conservation, and some controls. This is a chart of a graph that shows where you currently are is roughly at $1.43 a square foot in your utility costs versus a target of $1.28, where we feel comfortably we can take you guys to. My next little chart's what the cost of doing nothing is just money that's going to the utility company that you could harvest and make upgrades to your schools. There's a slide about the project impact. If you go to the next slide, which is the next step, which is this slide, the next step would be for the school system to authorize us to proceed with an investment grade audit, which would basically, as I said previously, finalize all of the scopes, all of the final costs, bring everything from budget pricing down to firm pricing, and bring that back to you for approval. The cost of that audit is it's $43,808. You would only pay for that audit if you chose not to proceed with the project when we bring the final project back. Otherwise, it's rolled into the project and it's covered by the savings as well. And that's where I get to questions. But I wanted to hand something out. As I shared with Dr. Windsor earlier, we actually came from a meeting at Lenoir City Schools where we were presenting their Year 3 performance results on a project we did for them about 3.5, 4 years ago. On their project, we're guaranteeing right at $320,000 a year in utility savings, and there's a whole lot of upgrades that went into it. I have a case study I was going to hand out, and with this case study, what we presented tonight to them, I say tonight, it was actually at 4 o'clock, is that every year for 3 years on their project, they have actually exceeded their guarantee by almost $100,000. And that's all money that flows directly back to them for them to do whatever they choose to do with it. Something else that we shared with them tonight at their school board meeting is as of July 30th, we won an ASHRAE Regional Technology Award for that project. And that's really a big deal. ASHRAE stands for the American Society of Heating, Air Conditioning, Refrigeration Engineers, and we received an award for that project. But I'm going to hand these out for you guys. Because, I could give you a case study from a school system in Kentucky or California, but this one is just up the road, 30 minutes. 26, I think, exactly. And the same exact team that would be doing a project here is the team that did the project for them.
I've got a question for you right now while you're doing that.
Absolutely.
On that number 3, what's next? It says this is the time you'll make a financial commitment to training. If we decide not to, do we owe you $43,800?
You decide not to do a project after we do that audit, which is the investment grade audit, which is the next phase, then we would be reimbursed for that audit.
But we've not done the audit yet.
We have not done the investment grade audit yet. The process for Train is we do an ASHRAE Level 2 preliminary audit so we can frame up what the project looks like before you're on the hook for a fee. And if you go to the back of this, there's a whole lot of, if you're like, what all was identified in the audit, there's these 11 by 17 pages cover everything for every school that was identified, with a cost and a savings for each one of those items. This could actually be helpful in capital budgeting for, needs throughout the school system that won't be addressed by this project at this time. In talking to Philip said he is pretty sure that you guys would only be interested in a project that truly paid for itself. Some of the other scope items, if you had additional capital funds that you wanted to throw into it and replace heating and air conditioning at Sweetwater High School or some of the other schools, you could put additional capital funds into it. But I think Philip feels like with the current environment, we need to look at something that totally pays for itself with the savings it creates. Yes,
This
sir.
information you put out here for us now, that's not part of the audit that we agreed to begin with. So all this that you've done over the last couple of years is not of that cost to us.
Everything we've done so far has not been at a cost to you. It's been at a cost to Train.
That you're talking about, $43,000.
The $43,000 audit is an investment grade audit. It is where we go through and finalize all of the pricing. The pricing that's in this document is pretty much budgetary pricing. After the investment grade audit, I think you'll see that it'll be pretty close to what that is, but because Train's going to be on the hook to write you a check, if we're telling you you're going to save $164,000 a year and you only save $150,000, Train actually has to write you a check for $14,000. And when we're in an agreement where we're on the hook to write a check like that, Train makes us go through some due diligence on the engineering and the analysis, because we don't want to have to write checks. We do write checks. Knox County Schools has had 3 checks written to them since we started projects with them back in, I think, 2007. There were 3 times we had to write checks. Lenore City, on the other hand, they've been saving more than $100,000 over their guarantee for all 3 years of their contract.
So what we agreed to was what you've done so far, which is in this pamphlet, is not the actual audit, which, in your words, was pretty close.
Correct.
That's pretty close to me.
Yeah, not guaranteeable. It's not enough for Train stockholders, shareholders, to have a corporate letter of guarantee of performance. So that's the next step, is to get it to that level.
What's pretty close estimate, pretty close to me.
I don't know, and this may be an Owen question, but 10 to 15%. But one thing I will point out, well, yeah, I was actually going to say that. We executed this audit over a year ago. So all of these numbers will have to be revised, and we're going to go back to contractors and suppliers. But this past year's been crazy for escalation in building materials, all kinds of components. So if it wasn't for that, maybe 10 to 15% would be accurate, but we've got to go back and get all that updated.
Plus the upgrades and changes that we've done within the system ourselves.
Correct.
All that was in that, so it's still going to be in the $43,000 range.
Yeah, the original audit cost, I believe, was maybe 160-something thousand. But after talking to Philip, if he does not want to look at things that would require additional capital, then the audit cost comes down accordingly. So we would just be looking for a self-funding project, finalizing that.
Thank you.
Dr. Shootman, I think you said you were going to ask a bunch of piercing questions.
I was teasing. I was
Oh, for Philip, okay. Mr. Ingram, do you have questions? I know actually your brother, as I understand, we met with him back before the county commission approved for us to start with that preliminary audit, 2 years ago. So he's aware of how this works also.
Board have any more questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Williams?
I would make a motion at this time that we thank them for the services that they've rendered so far, and that we do not continue with this program. Kind of been brought, maybe we can do it in-house.
Mr. Williams has made a motion to stop with the process. Do I have a motion?
You want a motion or a second?
Or a second?
Second.
Mr. Kelly seconds. All in favor of stopping the process with train, say aye.
Discussion first on
Okay, yes. Any discussion?
I have a question on that. If we say that, is that when we have to stop it right now this minute, or does that give us a period of time over here that, to check with Philip and evaluate all what they've done and what's been done, the extra money and all that? It seems like all that needs to be consideration before we just chop the hatchet to it.
Mr. Williams, have it, you want to work the
Mr.
motion?
Carroll, would you like to make a recommendation, or would you like me just, because we do not need to waste our time, and I feel we're wasting our time, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so that's why I made the motion. But it's up to,
I think that there is an opportunity for savings, and I think that even as Mr. Weeks said, there has a lot of things, and Ms. Nancy, you brought that out, that there is a lot of things that has changed over the years, and, if the board does want to sit down and have a workshop or something like that to discuss everything, and go through everything with fine tooth comb, with what we've done, where we've been, where we're headed, pull this into it, look at all this again, and we can.
Then I would amend his motion to say that let's have a workshop or something to study all these procedures before we just shut it down then.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
I don't think we can amend it that way. I think we'd have to have Mr. Williams. Yeah, we'd have to have Mr. Williams withdraw his
I'm not
motion.
going to withdraw it, because we're wasting this lady's time. And they're wanting an answer. You don't want it 6 months from now or a year from now. You've been out on the hook 2 years doing this, right?
We've been waiting for a year to bring back the results of a lot of engineering and project development that we launched with your all's approval.
It's like I said a year ago. When we do this, yeah, we're going to have savings. But if Sandra wants it 66 degrees in her office like they've got it in here, that's not going to be our decision. Trend's going to set you're going to set the thermostats.
When we established temperature set points, we don't tell a school system what you need the temperature set points to be. We ask you what you want the temperature set points to be, and we model it the way you want it.
Okay. I studied this pretty good a year ago with a guy that knows. But you just do what you want to do. I'm set. I'm set in my mind.
I've also studied the thing too, and I don't think we ought to put words in this lady's mouth. If she wants to, she don't want to wait past tonight, say so.
I think we've invested enough time and effort that we would welcome the opportunity to have a workshop and make sure that everybody fully understands what this proposition is. I mean, we've invested a lot of time and energy and manpower on this.
Philip, would that be a worthwhile endeavor, a workshop, so you can present all your stuff, all your findings and all yours along with them at the same period of time? Is that a worthwhile? Is it worthwhile?
Like I said, there's
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we lay this motion on the table until after such time we have an opportunity to meet with Philip and do a workshop and come back and revisit this.
Without voting on my motion,
Pardon me?
you got to, okay, you want the table.
Yeah, he's on the table motion.
Guys and ladies, from what I've been hearing, we're stringing this lady along. I don't think we're going to do this program. So, we just need to vote, however it is. If you've got a motion to
We got a
table.
motion to table, Mr. Williams' motion. Do we have a second for the table?
Second.
All right.
Roll call.
All right, roll call on the table motion. Mr. Shipman?
Yes.
Mr. Upton?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Ms. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Cagle?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Ridgell's not here. And I'm going to vote yes as well. We got 6-2 to table.
It passed.
Yep, 6-2
So
to table.
you voted with your brother?
I voted for me.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on this?
Yes, to not prolong this, it seems to me that it'd be prudent to put a date on this, a time limit. We don't want to do it 6 months down the road. Mr. Shipman, you said you want to table. What do you think is fair to get this discussed and get it out of the way, and fairness to them and to us also? What do you think is fair to that?
I
Week, 2 weeks?
think we need to move expeditiously, whatever works with Philip.
Sir, next board meeting.
You ought to do a workshop.
Next board meeting?
Workshop.
You ought
Next
to do
board
a
meeting.
workshop prior to the next month's board meeting.
That sounds fair.
So who all, I mean, at this workshop, Trent gonna be there? I mean, is it just for the board, or is it something Philip's gonna present to us?
It's a board decision. Ms. Schuman, what's your recommendation?
Well, I think we've heard from Trent. I think we, meet with Philip as a board and decide where we go from there.
I agree with you. That's kind of what I look at. I think we just need the board and Philip to get together and discuss our options.
But you got all the dots and cross the Ts and all that, Philip, that they wouldn't be required to have to come back. You'd have all, you've got all the information, them and your side too. Thank you.
I'm just trying to be straight up with you.
So we've got a workshop for the September meeting. How long, Philip, do you think? An hour, 30 minutes?
At least an hour.
An hour? Any other discussion? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
8-11-10, Director of School Reports.
Okay, we have had our first full day of school that began this past Monday, and we are so far Thursday into the first full week. We're thrilled to see our students back in our buildings. The first week has gone smoothly so far, with the exception of some scheduling issues that we have been working hard around the clock at Sequoia to resolve. I want to thank everyone involved in that up front and behind the scenes to help us get things back on track with that. I also want to thank the students for their patience during a time that I know was stressful for them. I've checked with their principals this week at all of our schools to see how their first days have been, and so far things seem to be moving right along. Everything is falling into place with that. By next week, we hope many of the normal back-to-school issues will be resolved and we'll be back to our normal routines. The principals have reported that the uncovered bus routes have led to some increase in traffic from car riders and drivers, but overall, nothing has been too overwhelming for them to this point. They've been able to satisfy that and make accommodations. We also have not seen an abnormal number of complaints. Traffic is always a problem at the beginning of school. Those first couple of weeks especially, just getting used to the traffic routines as students move from one building to another and have to familiarize themselves with the traffic patterns. We'd like to thank our parents and school communities for their patience and support. We've seen a lot of people make alternate transportation arrangements, and we're appreciative of that. We are continuing to try to find drivers for any open routes that we have. We also want to thank the contractors who have picked up routes, and they are able to cover what they can, and we're working with them and they're working with us in a partnership to try to find additional drivers to cover any uncovered routes that we have at this time. I have updates from last month's maintenance report. I'll email those as well. From the report that we had last month, as far as our MMS and TPJH renovations, for the plumbing fixtures and accessories, those have been completed. All the bathroom petitions have arrived and are currently being installed. We look for those to be finished by midweek of 8/17/22. The portable renovations have been completed, or will be completed, by 8/17/22. The mini splits will be operational. Actually, they've been completed as well. Interior lighting's 95% complete. There's just some small closets that they have to finish on those. The contract has been sent, and we're waiting on final signatures from the contractor on the bleacher installation, The gutters are in the final stages and should be finished this week at Sweetwater High School, Monroe Elementary, and Rural Vale. We do have some leaks at several locations that we're working to resolve, and those are at MMS, Tellico Junior High, Sequoia, Tellico High School, Central Office, the Alt School, and Coordinated School Health. And those are all being looked at and trying to establish a timeline to get those repaired. Monroe Elementary's new phone system is ongoing, the installation with that. We have the materials ordered and underway. We're waiting on delivery for the Coca Creek HVAC. The plans were approved, and we're waiting on getting back the fire marshal approval for the HVAC here at Sweetwater High School gym. The project for the Sweetwater High School repointing mortar began on 8/9 of this week. And the plans have been received, and we're waiting on a meeting the 16th for the Cleveland State CTE project. Locker room projects, Tellico High School is almost finished. Sequoia High School starts on the 22nd. Sweetwater High School starts on the 29th. So those are updates that I will send out to you on our maintenance report. Finally, I would like to personally thank Mr. DeWitt Upton for his dedication and his service to the employees and students in the Monroe County school system. I've had the privilege of working under his boardmanship my entire career with the system, and I'm fully aware of the level of contribution he's made toward the Sweetwater community and our district as a whole over the last 28 years. At this time, I would like to recognize Mr. Upton along with this board formally. We have a certificate that I'll read and a gift of appreciation for you. This setup is a little weird. I feel strange taking the microphone and holding it like I'm going to karaoke, so I'm going to sit down for a minute. I'm sorry. It's an odd setup. Monroe County Schools, this certifies that DeWitt Upton was elected as a Monroe County School Board member in 1994 and has generously served his first district community for consecutive 28 years. Mr. Upton's years of dedication to the students and staff of Monroe County Schools is appreciated. His compassion and sense of humor will be missed by his fellow board members, and we all like to wish him the best in his retirement, August 11th, 2022. It is my honor to present you with this certificate and a clock from the board in honor of your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you would like to say a few words, feel free.
Well, I just want to thank the people of Sweetwater. It's such a great honor that y'all honor me all these years, and I really appreciate it. And I know y'all know that I love the Sweetwater, and that's why I put my heart and soul into it. So thank you very much. It's been my honor. Thank you very much. I just want to thank the Lord Jesus Christ for what he's done in my life to help me to work in a community. And I just thank everyone that's supported me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I love y'all guys.
And that is everything that I have at this time. Thank you. Sure.
On the maintenance, can we, and Mr. Chairman, and I'm speaking for the second district, between now and October, I would like, and me and Freddie talked about this in a meeting, preventive maintenance. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars to replace Madisonville Middle School. That's the oldest school in the second district. And I've been through it lately, and they've done, whoever, Philip or whoever, I'm telling you, we couldn't build a building any better than what we've got. We just got to upgrade it. with these things that they've done. But I'd like for us to look, and you guys from Teleco, and Sweetwater, DeWitt, he's done a pretty good job taking care of it over here. But anyway, for us to look at, I know we need to, and you've talked about it, we need a painting crew, we need a grounds crew, we need to, guttering's got to be fixed, pressure washing, just preventive maintenance on these buildings, and we can save Monroe County, $50 to $100 million not having to build new schools. If Teleco's junior high is like Massville Middle. And I'd like for us to put that maybe on up to October, and that'll give us time September to do whatever we're gonna do. But I would like for the Teleco bunch to look at, maybe the schools and over here.
We've been looking at this preventive maintenance system since I've been on the board 2.5 years ago, and I think Philip has put into place a 10-year plan. So we've been looking at this to upgrade our schools, because we can't, we're in our county's what, in debt, 60 million right now?
Yeah, but
70 million to build a school, and we've even talked to county commissioners about raising a penny or two to start putting aside, because we gotta have some new schools.
No, but but you're talking about your preventive maintenance.
At some point, we're gonna have to have.
You've got
we'll have to-
gutters.
Well, let me finish. But we've been talking about this preventive maintenance program. It's not something new idea. It's been ongoing for 10 years, and I think he's even got a 5 or 10 year plan out there, haven't you, Philip? I believe he's got one
Well, I
now.
won't quit talking about it, because we've got gutters that are falling off these new schools, rusting in two. We need to pressure wash around our schools. We need to paint Bonor Gym, look at it from the road up there. All this, I'm a barn builder or a school builder. I like to do a 5-year plan, and I've told them that. I like to build. But since I've been looking at this middle school, we don't need to build. That's a good school, and we can save tens of millions of dollars. But your preventive maintenance, you just go look at your schools. We're not doing much of it.
Preventive maintenance, checks and services, that's the key in facilities. If you don't do that, it's like in the military. You gotta do that. The military got vehicles last a long time. We don't even wear them out. We sell them to third world countries. But maintenance of facilities is the key, because you can't be building schools every 25 years.
No.
Taxpayers ain't gonna allow it. So, you gotta get some kind of program, which we got a program, but you gotta stay on it. Anytime somebody say, hey, I got a gutter hanging loose, you gotta get on top of it. Maintenance of facilities, you gotta get on top of it, because you gotta keep the building in good shape, because, if you don't, it's gonna leak on your computers and everything. So that's the main thing. Good maintenance program, which I feel like we got one, and since Phil been aboard, we have come a long way. And, but you're right, Dave. Maintenance of facilities, that's the key.
Well, it's Freddie's
That's
ideal.
Top priority.
It's Freddie's ideal. I'm just
You're right, Fred.
helping Freddie.
Top priority. That should be a top priority, along with, education, curriculum and everything. You gotta have it. Just don't wait till it falls down and then fix it. That's checks and services. Check it and service it. That's the key. That's the key, and you'll save a lot of money.
This report you just gave, wasn't that all this upkeep and things we got going on? A lot of it's through our ESSER money. So all what he's talking about is what you just reported on, is it not?
Not all of it.
I didn't say all of it. That's what she just reported on.
Correct.
Just go look. Go look.
I've always advocated, and anybody know, 28 years, maintenance has been one of my pet peeves. Maintenance has. I used to stay on Charlie, which I ain't gonna say nothing about that. Phil, you're doing a good job, and just pick it up a notch is all you gotta do. Pick it up a notch.
But like Mr. Weiss said, 60 or $70 million in debt, which we've got most of it on the tax rate. But McMinn County, they've maintenance their schools. They're the only county in the state that's debt-free.
They've also got a big tax base too. That's comparing apples and oranges.
Okay, apples and oranges, that's where I come from. Would I be an apple or an orange? But they don't have no debt, and they do a good maintenance program, and I'm not saying we're doing a lot. They've done a good job at Massville Middle School. But now he will admit, there's gutters that need to be painted, there's gutters that's rusted out, Von Orr's an eyesore up there right on the main road, and you're trying to recruit industry, but anyhow, I'd like to see us look at that and maybe
Identify some projects.
in October.
What would you like to see on the October? What are you looking?
Well, I mean, I think we need a 5-year plan, which really it needs to be I don't want to put nobody on the spot, but I like sort of what we need a painting crew. You know, that all they do is paint, because by the time they get done, they'll be right back ready to start again. You need a building and grounds. You got 2 people mowing right now, right?
We got 1 full-time and try to keep 4 part-time.
Anyhow, we need a building and grounds deal, you know, and then we need an HVAC deal to where we can do some of this like we are. We're not doing it all, instead of having to go through some of these other deals where we've got control of it.
There's no question we need that. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you on it, but, you know, the dollar's got to come from here to go into that.
I've talked to a county commissioner, but being a county commissioner, when you set the tax rate, school board doesn't have to set the tax rate, so that takes all the pressure off us. Don't never let them put it to where we have to set the tax rate. But when you go to county commission and you tell them that and you ask them for maintenance money and preventive maintenance money instead of a $50 million Massville Middle School, then you're gonna have to build probably $48 million middle school in Tellico. Then we'll have to, you know, there'll be a few upgrades over here. That's just the way it works. You know, when they see they're gonna save $75 to $100 million by and they're putting money back already, and they see that we're saving this money and maintaining these buildings as we go, I believe they'll kick a little in.
Maybe during our workshop, Philip can just go over that a little bit, the maintenance plan that we have in place, and check off some things and whatever he needs to add to it, since it's been a few years. Maybe we can look at, just a quick look at it then until.
Well, if you
maybe
raise
at the
taxes
same
1
time.
penny, it brings in $1 million, but you find a commissioner who's willing to say he supports that.
Well, they will.
1 penny brings $1 million, I believe. And I've even suggested that that be put in and put aside for the schools, for projects, as you say.
But the thing about it is, they've got a $9 million fund balance, correct, Gail? 9 to 10 million. The county general. Okay.
They just put $5 million extra they had back in general fund, I think. Was that not correct, Gail?
They moved 4.5, I think, into the.
4.5 million. I was off $500,000 there.
But we're not talking about a lot of money. Even if say it's $5 million, that's better than $100 million. I mean, but I will have to say this. I'm the only person that's been on the commission that voted against everything to spend and voted for 3 tax increases, so I will vote for a tax increase.
Then what do you think about Ms. Cagle's suggestion of letting Philip?
I don't want to take anything away from the Tran deal that yous are going to do in September. I mean, you set our aside, you know. I thought if you did it maybe in October, because you've got all this busing deal, you've got this deal, and school could settle down, and that'd give everybody time to maybe go check out, you know, you need to check out Tellico Middle School, whatever you call it, and then, you know, look around over here.
Do you want it in the meeting, or do you want a workshop for October?
Well, you know, that's something that should have been brought up earlier, but he suggested the next board meeting, we voted for it.
On the Tran deal,
Yeah.
Well, yes.
But she's asking me if I want to do this maintenance deal on that. He asked me if we
At the
wanted.
same time.
At the same time,
At the same time.
But do we
Dean
want-
suggested October, so that's
What
fine.
would you rather do in October? Would you rather do it at the workshop or the
Separate them into 2 different workshops.
2 workshops? Will that work, Mr. Williams?
Well, it works for me. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, maybe a 2-year plan instead of a 5-year plan.
I don't like a 5-year plan. 5-year plan gives you 3 years to do nothing to try to squeeze it into 2 years.
So maybe we review our 5-year plan, which we do have, so we can review that. And from that, look at some of the projects that could be done sooner and in less time and for less money. And then some of the projects that are on there, we may be able to take off because of some of the renovations we've done, so.
So is replacing Madisonville Middle School and Telco Junior High, are they in the 5-year plan to replace them?
They've been on the
That
5-year
probably-
plan
They've been on it
For a long time. So see,
Yeah, a long time.
five rounds
so
probably, the 5-year
when
plan.
you take that out of the
I think
5-year
it's been
plan,
over
that's
5
gonna,
years,
I
ain't
mean,
it?
that's not gonna be very much
Right.
money, really, is it?
Is everybody okay with the October workshop to go over that?
I'll have to ask this again. I believe Philip gives us constant updates. I'll have to disagree with Fred. I think you need a 10-year plan. Something we're going to attain in 10 years. Does that preclude not looking at it every other 2 or 3 years? Sure. You got
And
to
that's
do
what I
that.
was saying.
You got to upgrade that, but he's been given some of this, but he alluded to the military, and I know I've chipped enough paint on ships to know that you got to upgrade that stuff all along. And that's your
Checks and
TMS, we
service.
call it back then,
Check and
preventive maintenance
service.
system.
PMS.
But we have one in place. If we upgrade it and look at it every year, I think don't you give us annual report on that?
Yes.
But I don't believe we've got the plan of what we need. And I don't think Freddie believes that we've got the plan we need. We need an ongoing maintenance deal. I mean, you've not got a paint crew now. You've not got an HVAC crew, really, do you?
Well, yeah, some.
See, we really,
So you're supposed to.
county commission needs, if we come out and you're not gonna hire a HVAC man for no $15 to $20 an hour like we're paying. You know, if we're really gonna get serious about it, we need a professional HVAC man that works for Monroe County. You know, he might make, you know, he's gonna make pretty good, but the painting and the guttering and then if you have to build 40 classrooms, you know, that might be a little, but you don't even need classrooms at Massville Middle. And I'm gonna tell you, I was against the dabbling portable buildings, and I still don't like them, but you need, and anyhow, Massville Middle, you need to look at their portables that they redone. I mean, they're nice.
All right, so we're gonna have a September meeting, we're gonna have a workshop for train at 5:30. And then October, we'll do one on preventive maintenance.
Do 5 and 5:30.
We'll 5:30 for the October one as well.
That's fine.
Hey, change it to preventive, PMCS, preventive maintenance checks and services.
Okay?
Named after D. Witt up, that more we'll always
Yeah,
remember.
write that down. Dean suggested.
No.
Anyone else have any business? we need to
Chairman, I
discuss?
just have just a few seconds to say something, Mr. Upton here. You said earlier you served people of the First District, to which you served my family and my children and my grandchildren. And I want to personally thank you for all the years of service. You live a good life. You live a significant life. With all your contributions, I can't think anything that's much greater than what you've done for our kids and for their education. And I just want to say thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he represented more than First District. He represented the whole county with honor and I, you know, we're very lucky to have a board member like Mr. Upton. And we really appreciate that.
I was going to say something about the central office. The central office, I'm going to tell you what, hey, ever since 28 years I've been on, y'all have done an outstanding job. I mean, the reason why I know that, because you had to put up with us at times. And, but every time we ask you a question, you always are, you found the answer. I mean, great job. Just keep up the good work, just step it up. Like I told Philip, try to step it up if you can. I mean, because y'all do an outstanding job. I don't care what anybody says.
DeWitt, I'd just like to say it's been an honor serving with you on this board.
Thank you, Bill.
I'd just like to say I'm gonna miss looking across there and seeing that.
They ain't gonna make me cry, y'all. That's that humor.
Tears of joy, right?
I'll have to tell this on him. One night he was sitting by me, and we had a pretty controversial vote, which I done had my mind made up. We voted about 10 minutes. It took that long for it to sink in. Old D. Witt, he punched me. He said he sells cattle down there at the stockyard, don't he?
Anyone else? Nothing else? I need a motion to adjourn. Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We are having a reception for Mr. Upton over here. If anyone would like to,
I have a question. How do we get put on the agenda? Do we call the school board? Because I called the school board all week and no one's answered the
okay,
phone.
we'll have to call the central office and ask for Miss Blair here.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Take a few.